All right, everybody get up in here. Come on, gather around. Gather around. We got 18 of you guys up in here because I know you guys want to call in. I do apologize for the lack of call-in shows that we've been doing lately. I've been very busy. Thursday nights, Friday nights have always been something's going on. High school football, college football, work, whatever it is, guys. Your boy is a student by day, media person, wannabe media personality, according to some of you by night. That is my life. So, welcome on in once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 12th edition of the South Carolina Live Call-In Show. I am your host, as always, Lucas Hill. Thank you so much for always and every single day hopping on inside and talking some ball with us. Everybody do us a favor, as we do every week. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live here on the channel. Got a lot to break down, man. A lot that we need to emphasize and a lot that we need to discuss and a lot that I have had to not necessarily endure, but a lot of criticism that I've gotten from a lot of you, and I did want to address that. So, obviously, Tuesday, some of you called me out. You said, because I said South Carolina had 2 or 3 postseason appearances since 2000 and over the last 10, 15 years. That was a mistake on my part. I understand that Google was my friend. I know I was reading it all wrong, but at the end of the day, guys, God never made us perfect. And God always created us differently. We are all sinners. We all repent. We all are not in our own perfect way, but hey, mistakes are made every day. I just thank God that I'm forgiven every single day. I know some of you may not think I'm very serious whenever I do this, but hey, you guys still tune in anyway. But our goal here is to provide you the best content available here around all things South Carolina. And it doesn't matter to me whether or not I am credentialed through South Carolina media or not. It does not bother me one bit. Guys, I'm from South Louisiana. I can't even make it to a South Carolina game. So it wouldn't even bother me one bit if I'm not even freaking credentialed through South Carolina media. It really does not bother me one single bit. All right. Everybody do us. All right, let's get a little. So what I meant to say was yesterday, when it comes to South Carolina athletics as a whole, which I think you all need to hear, is that it could matter less about how many postseason appearances that you've made. You have been mediocre the last 10, 15 years when it comes to athletics. You had 2 great seasons, 2010, 2011, 2012 when you make the College World Series. 2 times you win the national championship, and I think you finished the runner-up in 2012. Let me check for sure because I know, so I don't have to hear from some of you guys on Twitter and y'all criticize me because, oh my God, how dare I miss this? Yes, you were the runner-up in 2012. But it's obvious, guys. Those days are behind you. Lackluster recruiting, not adapting to where you are when it comes to development, and honestly, the lack of support and the lack of booster money that has been provided to your program at this point in time. So that's ultimately where you are at this point with South Carolina athletics, aside from women's basketball, of course. You have a lot of support going there. Baseball-wise, you would like to see more, but obviously you took a step back. I don't think Paul Mainieri was the right hire at all. And the fact that you decided to even fire a coach that had been with you for the last 7 years in Mark Kingston, I understand you guys were so upset about how the last several years had been with Mark. You know, you make the Fayetteville, you go on a great run in 2018 where you make the Supers in Fayetteville. You come just one short of making the College World Series. Had to fight your way through the other bracket pretty one-sided from here on out up until you got to Arkansas. But as a total guy, as a whole, guys, when it comes to baseball, what hurts, in my opinion, is the fact that I don't think you have gotten a fair shot when it comes to funding for your specific programs. And that sucks, man. That really sucks. You know, and you would like to see more funding be thrown at other or athletic programs such as baseball and basketball, you know, especially men's basketball, which you've had a couple great runs. You had a great run a couple of years ago in Lamont's second year after you go from worst to first. Then you're back to worst the next year. Right now, South Carolina athletics at this point in time is a stalemate. What needs to change for it? Well, number one, you have a new athletic director who's obviously going to make changes in a few years. Paul Mainieri is not the right guy. He's going to be gone, whether it be this year or next year. I don't know if he lasts this year. We'll see what happens. He said in his opening press conference that he was excited for this 2026 season, which is something that he never really said last year. But you did give him a full year to develop guys, and we'll see what happens on the mound. We'll obviously have our guy Doubled Up over on Twitter, who will be coming on in the next couple weeks. We'll try to get him on in November. Doubled Up is a very, very good guy. One of the best insiders when it comes to South Carolina baseball. You know, I mean, I talk about, you know, we've been in contact the last couple of weeks. You can follow him at Doubled Off at DUBLEDOFF. He is the best when it comes to all things Gamecock baseball. You know, we're getting close to baseball season, so when he comes on, we're definitely going to break down a lot around that area of the season, which is going to be pretty critical, especially when you're going into year 2 of the Mainieri era. Back to Mark King. I think you fired him because of what you had done before. And you fired him because you were because of how you had been at times, especially during SEC play. He left with a below 500 record in SEC play. You know, he would lead to regional appearances, and those were great and all for South Carolina. But you never could get over that hump that you were able to get over consistently for Ray Tanner. And look, I get it. I get it. You know, you have to take over for a guy like Chad Holbrook, who's now at the College of Charleston in the CAA tournament. You took over a team that, realistically, guys, they were in a pretty good position with Holbrook. My knowledge of Gamecock baseball is not great. I would say it's very below average, but from what I look at for what you had, I mean, good Lord, you've been able to develop guys and go to the next level. You talk about guys like Clark Schmidt, who ended up being one of the best pitchers in college baseball right before he had Tommy John surgery. Now he's still with the New York Yankees, doing pretty well, but obviously has had to deal with injuries throughout his career. The postseason is where you have had your struggles. That's obviously a big point of emphasis when it comes to South Carolina baseball fans. And to that, guys, I get it. I understand why expectations are so high. You know, Tuesday, me and him were talking about this, Doubled Off, I should say, and pretty much told me exactly the same thing I am telling you all today. He said baseball and basketball have combined, it's not what it used to be, but the baseball program is still respected. And yes, I agree. South Carolina baseball deserves to be very respected among college and baseball. But right now, from where you are from an athletic standpoint, as a whole, you're very mediocre. And it goes to show you, and it makes you wonder as a fan, how much longer can you take these up and down seasons that you have with basketball and with baseball and with football? You've had to deal with this for the last 5 years, maybe. You know, you go from what you did in 2017, you go on a great Final Four run in basketball, and you're back to being near the bottom of the SEC. Then you all of a sudden pop off in 2024, you're back to being the bottom of the SEC in 2025. Guys, Lamont Paris is just not a good coach. And whether you want to hear that or not, that's the truth. You know, and he should be fired, man. You know, the fact that you have not pulled the plug on him yet is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You have not been able to hit on a coach yet because you have been lazy. Now that Dante is in the building, do things change? We'll just have to see. And I don't know if you are going to finally get over that hump that you've been needing to get over. But regardless of that, on the football side of things, because that's what we're here to talk about, Saturday is a must win. You go to 3-4 on the season, and any chance that you have at a bowl game, you can kiss it goodbye. Any chance that you have of retaining some of your core star power from this year, like Lenoris, like Dylan Stewart. You know, you most of your young guys that you have in this 2026 class. Darius Gray, by the way, guys, many of you haven't really been paying attention to it since he committed back in August. He's still going to take official visits. And let me tell you, I don't know if he remains a Gamecock. I'm not sold on it. I think Zion Giles will stay a Gamecock. I don't know if I can say the same thing for Darius Gray. I think he looks at what's going on with your line room, and you're seeing this history of irregular development in that room. And you know what teams are using? You know what teams like Ohio State, what LSU, what Texas is using? They're saying, hey, go look at Josiah Thompson right now. You see how bad he's performing right now? That's because of a lack of development there. Come here. We're going to develop you some dudes. And they're going to give them a list of first rounders. They give them a list of draft picks that have been through the South Carolina system. Or not the South Carolina system, but through these different programs. And they're going to give them the statistics, and it's going to outshine South Carolina, which sucks. The fact you're losing recruits because of that is going to stink. It's not because you haven't spent enough money on them. It's also because of the development side of things, because trust me, these kids still want to make it to the league. That's the bottom line. So whether you want to hear it or not, it's the harsh reality that you have to live with right now, sitting at 3-3 on the season with a must-win season coming, or must-win game this Saturday. One that is basically going to define your season. But this is the injury report that we got earlier today. Oklahoma side, a lot of different offensive linemen that's going to be out. Troy Everett, Jacob Sexton, and Jake Taylor are gone. Javonte Barnes, Keontez Lewis, Cade McIntyre, and Logan Howland are also doubtful. Javonte Barnes is just going to provide depth. Keontez Lewis, speed guy, I do expect him to play. How much, though? I'm not sure. But for South Carolina, though, dude, you have issues. If you cannot get Kason Henry or Nolan Hay healthy, you have a serious problem. Like, you are in a bad spot. Not to mention that Shedd's questionable. You have Brandon Cisse, who's probable for this game. I think that those two, that get him and Gabe Brown, Lil Diddy, is going to play. But if you're going into this game without Nolan Hay, without Kason Henry, without Shed Surratt in the ball game, you are screwed. You're going to have three essentially not necessarily new, but inexperienced and really poor offensive linemen going up against the best pass rush that you're going to face all year. You are going to be in a serious bind. You're basically going to have to ask your defense to get points off of turnovers and to create pick sixes. To create pick sixes. To get defensive scores. Beamer ball has to be in order. And that's part of our keys to victory this weekend too, guys, is that you have to do what you did on last week. You were able to force turnovers, but you could not counter off of them because every time you got on the opposite side of the 50, you pissed down your leg with the play calling. It's the bottom line, man. You cannot have that happen going up against this Oklahoma defense. This is going to be a race to 20, just like it was last week. Just like it was last week. So don't be surprised if you continue to see the same thing that we've had the last couple of weeks, because this offense is very, very bad. Everybody is to blame. Play calling, O-line, your quarterback. How many times have we talked about Lenoris who's not played up to his full potential this year? Part of that has to do with your with an offensive line. Part of that has to do with play calling. It also has to do with himself. We'll talk about that a bit more when we come back.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
So let's talk about Lenoris for a little bit. And let's talk about the cold, hard truth that I put out on Twitter earlier today. So Mel Kiper still has Lenoris as a first-round draft pick. Well, I'm not criticizing that. I think he's a great athlete. I think his intangibles is really, really good. The problem is he's getting the Lenoris, or not the Lenoris. He is getting the Anthony Richardson treatment. And I put this out earlier today, and surprisingly, I didn't get enough I didn't get hardly any pushback from it. I don't think I even got any. So you have not seen the same athlete that he was in the second half of last year. And that's the bottom line, guys. That's where you have to be honest with yourself when you look at Lenoris in year one and you compare it to year two. You hate to admit it. And you hate to see that is the case. Because I like Lenoris. But guys, if we're being real, he's not going to be a Gamecock in 2026 if he decides to come back to school. I don't see it. I would like to believe it. I would love to believe it. But it pains for me to say that if he decides to come back, which I hope he does because he needs another year to develop. Many, many athletes and quarterbacks need to come back for another year to develop. 3 off the top of my head: Lenoris, Dante Moore, and Arch Manning. All 3 of which have had some great intangibles, great measurements. But look at what Dante Moore did last week against Indiana. Made some bad decisions. Got pressured a lot. It's a good Indiana team. See what happens the rest of the season for him. Arch Manning, bad offensive line. Made some pretty good throws. Did some good things on Saturday. But it doesn't look like an NFL draft. But doesn't look like a first-round draft pick. So right now, guys, you're in a pretty interesting position right now. So Lenoris, unfortunately, I don't believe will be in Columbia next year. Many of you don't want to hear that, but many of you need to hear that. And I think this is a smart thing that he's going to do because he's going to go to another offense. I hope that he finds success in that other offense. And I think he's going to have a lot more success in that offense because he doesn't have all the different moving pieces over and over and over. And that's what essentially you need. That's what you need to have right now, guys. You have to have consistency for him. And right now, the only way he's going to get it is if he goes and transfers to another school where they're going to pay him more money and where they're going to put him in a position where he can succeed at the next level. I mean, that's my opinion. You can disagree with me. That's completely fine with me. But where it stands right now, I just don't know with what South Carolina is going to do to keep him in Columbia. You'd like to see it. God knows, I know they're going to persuade. Boosters are going to be throwing freaking envelopes of money at him. I just don't know, man. I don't. It hurts that I have to see that. If that happens. If he enters the draft, though, then I think he'd be making a very big mistake. Because if he enters the draft, his draft stock's been plummeting ever since the start of the season. And I think the way that it's going to continue to plummet. Eventually, it may end up being a second or third round pick. Remember when we were talking about Jalen Milroe potentially being a first round pick at the beginning of last year? It's kind of like that. Except Lenoris is a better athlete and he's got better mechanics compared to Milroe. Anything can happen, guys. But we obviously have to see what he does on the field. Can you improve this Saturday? I believe that you can see some sort of improvement. Even if it's just a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. It's improvements that you have needed. That is me trying to be as realistic as I can. But we'll see, man. I mean, I love Lenoris. I love this. But I think right now you need to go get a new offensive coordinator, and I think you need to move on and let him work with Aaron Nolan. Because right now, when you look at it from a futuristic perspective, Aaron Nolan right now is your future. Aaron Nolan, from what we've heard in practice, from what we have heard throughout this past spring, that he's shown signs that, and even I've heard from some Ohio State fans, that he is potentially better than what CJ Stroud was. That's saying something. Do I believe it to be true? No, because if that was the case, he would be starting right now. But let him learn in a brand new offense, and we'll see what he does. That's what I want to say about that. What I do think Carolina is going to have to do, though, is that they're going to have to hit the portal with a freaking vengeance, because you're going to have to get depth at quarterback. You're going to have to get offensive line depth. You're going to have to get D-line, interior defensive line depth. You have to get edge help. You need safety help as well. I would even say you need linebacker help and even receiver help as well. You know, you can't, as good as they've done throughout recruiting and in high school recruiting, developing good classes, you have got to hit the portal, guys. You cannot get lazy in the portal anymore if you want to have any sort of relative success. That, in my opinion, is what is going to hurt you from here on out. So find it. You have got to find your rhythm. You know, you have got to find a way that you can dominate in the portal. That's the only way I see you having some sort of success in the near future. That's the only way that you're going to have any success. We'll see, man. We will see. And we've heard from some of you. You said, other than a few years under Spurrier, we have not in the last quarter century had an offensive line with an identity for either run, pass, or run blocking. Seems we just have an inability to recruit or develop offensive line. What makes you think another year would magically change that? And I didn't say, and listen, many of you hated to ignore what I've said. And many of you say, oh, I'm making no sense. How am I making no sense whenever I post something like this? When I say that he needs another year in college, I never said that he needed another year at South Carolina. I just said he needs another year in college. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think, realistically, do you think that Lenoris is going to stay at South Carolina? If he is, hey, that'd be amazing. That'd be really, really awesome. If not, good luck to him. This is Aaron Nolan's program now. Okay, that's enough of that. I want to talk about our keys to victory for this weekend. Okay. The number one thing that you have to do is create turnovers. We've already emphasized that enough this week, but I don't think you have really talked about it enough, in my opinion. Because number one This defensive line is going to get after you. So, in my opinion, you have got to create something on defense. So, defensively, you have an opportunity to expose what Oklahoma did on the offensive line. They struggled with that. Seriously struggled with it. And you cannot have something like this. You have got to, number one, dominate up front and own the line of scrimmage at this point in time. Number two, you have got to be able to counter if your defense is to get you turnovers. So this is what Beamer had to say when it came to this defense that Oklahoma has and how your offense may be able to shut them down at this point in time.
We've got good players, and I feel like we haven't been playing to our potential on offense, and that's not just on the offensive line. I think we're better than what we've shown, and our players would tell you that too. Our coaches would tell you that. So knowing that we have good players, and we do, it's not like we went out here and signed a bunch of, I don't even know if there's such a thing as 2-stars anymore, but I don't know if we went out and signed a bunch of 2-stars that are all playing on the offensive line. We got some really good SEC offensive linemen that were recruited by every school in the country. And I believe in those guys up front. I believe in what we're doing offensively. And I saw the signs. I know y'all love stats, and I get it. Like, I get it. If you look at overall stats, we're not very good. If you just look at SEC games only from an offensive standpoint, we're slowly working our way up. And we're near the top in a lot of things from an offensive standpoint. I saw the way that we ran the ball in the fourth quarter of the Kentucky game. I saw the way that we ran the ball against LSU. And I get it. You got to take yardage out for sacks. But I don't think anybody had ran the ball for more than 160 yards against LSU. And we gained close to 260 the other night. And it's more than just Matt Fuller's long run. So seeing that and the progress we've made, knowing how important it is to our guys up front on the offensive line and our entire offense gives me, great hope. And we know it'll be a challenge. It was a challenge last year out there against them. It's a challenge for every team that plays them, their offense against Oklahoma's defense, because of how talented and well coached they are. But I know our guys they want to. They're great competitors, and they're excited to get out there and try and take another step on Saturday.
So my question to you is, you have good players, but you're not developing them. How do you develop them? What have you been doing to develop them? Is it poor staff hiring? Sure. Has it been lack of situational awareness from them? Yes. Has it been not digging deep into these diamonds in the rough and investing in them? Maybe. Who knows? But it's a gut check on Saturday, and you have to be able to find a way to get past how you're feeling right now. Get past where you feel like you are at this point when it comes to development, and you got to be able to showcase what you can do. This is one of the most talented teams that South Carolina has put out when it comes to what you have as a whole. Stars wise, there's a lot of talent. On the field wise, you're not. You look like HDS, and I'm not repeating what that says. All I can say is hammer, dog, you finish the rest. So if you want to have any sort of success this weekend, you better create turnovers. You better capitalize in the red zone. Really, you got to capitalize on the opposite side of the 50. You can't have 16 plays and come away with 3 points, because you are going to lose every single battle that you have if you cannot capitalize. It's what's going to hurt you at the end of the day, guys. So do what you have. You have got to be able to be better. You have got to be able to show that you are a very, very dominant program. You have got to show that you can compete at a high level with the big boys of the SEC, especially when you talk about the gauntlet stretch. Guys, it's Cocktober. Josh Pate said it on his podcast earlier. He has you on upset alert. And this is going to be a race to 20. You're going to keep it close because your defense is damn talented enough to do so. And John Mateer is still hurt. So if you can force him to get out of the pocket and give up on his offense, give up on plays easy, then you have the mental what do they call it? You've won the mental battle at that point in time. Now you got to win the mental battle on offense. If you can do that, you're going to be in great shape. Y'all have a great rest of the night, guys. We will see you all for our post-game show on Saturday. Please, y'all do us a favor. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button down below. Turn on those bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live here on South Carolina Live at the Voice of College Football. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you Saturday. Y'all have a great rest of the week. Peace.